Hi, everybody. Welcome to this conversation with the Building a Better School of Communications and Journalism with the National Association of Black Journalists, or NABJ. Today, joining us, we have Tamia Folks, who is the National Student Representative of NABJ, and Professor Dowdy from our Stony Brook University, who is also a Vice President of NABJ in the Boston chapter. So if you two could both introduce yourselves, talk about your positions in NABJ and the experiences that you've had with the organization.
Tamia, would you like to go first?
Sure. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Tamia Folks. I'm a senior at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, majoring in journalism and political science. And as Amaya said, I'm the student representative for the National Association of Black Journalists. And I've had some really wonderful experiences with NABJ, so I was super excited to come here and share some opportunities for you all to get involved with the NABJ and our organization, but I've been a part of NABJ since my freshman year of college. A lot of the experiences that I've had have been virtual also, and I've still had a really, really great outcomes come from being a part of this organization and being able to engage with all of the wonderful journalists who are a part of it. And so, yeah, really excited to answer any questions today if anything does come up, and also just excited to share resources that you all can use.
My turn. Amaya?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. So most of you know that I'm a professor of journalism here at the university, and I am now full-time. Have been full-time at the university for a year or so now. I guess it's almost a year and a half, because we're almost through the second semester, or first semester of the second year. And as Amaya mentioned, yes, I was a president of the Boston chapter, and then I was also vice president of the New York chapter, vice president print, and I served 2 terms in that capacity and 2 terms as a president in Boston. So, as running the professional chapter, and Boston had, Boston is has nothing. If it has no shortage of students in Boston, right? So many different universities sort of packed into that one small area. So that we had what was called the student consortium. So there were a lot of students who from different schools all involved in the chapter of NABJ, and that was actually spearheaded by one of the students back then, because no one school had enough students to actually say, well, we want to form a chapter. So they were able to, NABJ made an exception, said we can all be part of a sort of a consortium, compilation of students from every one of the schools around to create that chapter. And that chapter actually wound up winning some sort of one of the student chapter of the year awards at one point. So maybe Tamia can talk a little more about the things that you can be honored by if you run a chapter well. Okay, so I can answer more questions as time goes on, but it's a lot to cover, I think.
Okay, so thank you guys. I'm also a student member of NABJ. I'm still looking to get more involved, so this is why I thought this would be a great event to have, because I'm sure there's other students like me who are not really sure where to start once they do become a member and what are the things they can take advantage of. So if either of you can speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can. I have a short presentation that I can share. I don't know if now is a good time to do that, but yeah, I can share a short presentation with all of you just to run down a few of the opportunities that we have, and then we can go into kind of question and answer type of thing. So hold on one second. Can you actually give me screen sharing capability?
Yes, I made you the co-host.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay. So all right, so the National Association of Black Journalists. And I know, at least for me, when I first was getting involved with NABJ as a freshman, I was certainly intimidated by the concept of being a part of a national organization and not necessarily knowing where I would fall in that mix of people. But Through my experiences, I've learned that NABJ has a lot of great offerings, and especially for students, it's a really great opportunity to not only network and meet people, but also just to gain more exposure to the journalism industry. And so some general reasons to join, I think, is that there are a wide variety of opportunities for students, just like all of us, to get involved with our journalistic learning. Beyond our work in the classroom, it's really easy to only surround yourself with journalists and student journalists who are at your school, but this gives you an opportunity to connect with students from across the country and to learn with them, and also from mentors from across the country as well. And so through NABJ membership, you'll gain access to a lot of professional development opportunities. There's one tonight, for example, with NBC Universal. They're talking about ways to be better broadcast writers. And things like that. You have access to scholarship and networking events, a lot of journalism task forces, whether you're interested in reporting in meteorology or going into broadcast or specifically talking about education focused issues. We have a lot of task force in NABJ that you can get involved with as well. So there's just a lot of ways to learn and to gain exposure to individuals from across the country who are doing work that you potentially could do in the future, and also to apply to a lot of different opportunities. And going on to our next slide, it's always a concern for students how much it'll cost to join a lot of these professional organizations. NABJ is only $40 a year for students, and you kind of can get more out of it than you certainly are putting in. There are a lot of scholarships that you can apply to, up to $10,000 per scholarship, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. Lots of internships to apply to, which are usually almost always paid, which is always great for students to be able to engage in. We have multimedia programs which take place during the year, and that's a great way to get involved as well. And then with your NABJ membership, even if you don't want to attend events in person or online, we have online only web access to a membership directory, so you can connect with people from across the country. You get NABJ e-blasts, which have updates about what's going on in NABJ and different programs that you can apply to. And you also can get discounts to the annual convention, the career fair. We have a Hall of Fame, and also a student award ceremony that people can apply to and get awards for as well. And award recipients for every program receive recognition through NABJ's website. So it's also a great way to get your name out there and for other people to see the work that you're doing. So far, just as we get started, does anyone have any initial questions before we keep going in this presentation? Are we feeling good?
I do actually, Tam.
Yeah.
What was the first thing you did as a student when you joined NABJ, and you were like a freshman and you were kind of nervous about the whole thing? So what was your baby step?
Yeah, my baby step was actually going right into the summer of my sophomore year, I think. I spent a year kind of observing and taking everything in. They have a lot of things that you can apply to. So just kind of learning the lay of the land. And I don't think I put myself out there as much my freshman year, but by the time that my sophomore year rolled around, I applied to the NBC fellowship that they have, a partnership with NABJ, and COVID happened, but I was able to do a virtual fellowship with NBC through NABJ, and it was a great opportunity to meet people in the industry, and also met a lot of really great student journalists who I'm still in touch with today. I have a friend who works for NBC. She graduated last year, and I just went to New York and visited her and got to see the office. And so you can make some really great connections and also just have a lot of really cool opportunities. And I'm sure when it's not in the middle of a global pandemic, the experiences are really vast and awesome. So it's exciting to kind of be coming out of that now and be having some of those opportunities in person again.
And just to follow up, is that now that you're a senior, is it making you feel a little bit less frantic about the job application process?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think the one thing that is best about NABJ and about a lot of professional organizations, whether that be ONA or Society of Professional Journalists, a lot of these organizations that you can be a part of, is that you meet people in the industry and get to see how they transition like in and out of it. And I think having that experience, seeing people your age, especially transitioning into professional work and kind of asking them questions about what their path is one of the resources that I've used the most out of NABJ, is the connection and the friends that I made. And so that alone, I think is worth joining as well.
That's great. Thanks.
Of course. Anyone else have any questions before we move on to our next slide? Okay, awesome. So NABJ programs, I just wanted to show this picture because I don't have a slide about NABJ conventions, but we do have an NABJ convention every year. This upcoming year, it'll be in Las Vegas. And so this is a photo pre-COVID back in 2019, I believe, when we had our NABJ convention. Everybody looks so nice. Everyone gets dressed up. It's a great networking opportunity. They have a lot of companies there who do in-person interviews, resume reviews. They look at people's reels if you're interested in broadcast. Also can, share your writing clips as well if you're more interested in print or digital journalism. But it's a really great opportunity to get yourself out there again and also to meet people, to make friends during this. Also, on our next slide, we'll talk about the multimedia projects, which take place in the summer at our convention. And that's an opportunity for students to work in a newsroom during an ABJ conference and kind of meet people and work on producing work there. And so a lot of great opportunities come from an ABJ convention. And that, again, is just one experience that you can have that is great to have, that makes the $40 100% worth it. And they do offer expense paid trips to an ABJ conference if you do take part in the multimedia project program. So it's a really great opportunity to apply to. Okay, and so this slide is about our multitude of NABJ programs, which start actually when students are in high school. So if you know any high school students as well, they can get involved in NABJ. And we have a 4-day workshop called J-Shop, which is a workshop for local high school students in the host city of our NABJ conference, and they can apply to the annual convention. So that does shift every year, but it's a really great opportunity for young students to get involved. I'm especially passionate about getting high school students involved in journalism. And so if you do know anyone who is interested in that, then definitely feel free to share this information with them as well. NABJ also has a multimedia short course, which I was able to participate in last year. And it's similar to the NABJ multimedia projects, which I mentioned before, that take place at the conference. But this is actually in the middle of the spring semester. It takes place kind of in late March. And students who are interested in digital journalism or in broadcast can come to that, and you produce work throughout the week. And we put together a whole website. A lot of work comes out of that project, and you just get really great experience and interaction with professional journalists that I think is really unique. And it also is really beneficial, I feel like, to be in a fully Black newsroom, be able to have conversations about interactions that you might have in the workplace that you can't necessarily have in your school, especially at predominantly white institutions like I go to as well. So it's a really great opportunity to connect with Black journalists and also just be in a space where you're supported and pushed to produce the best work that you possibly can. And then the multimedia projects is relatively the same. It's pretty intense. I think it's leveled up a little bit, but that does take place during convention. And does anyone have any questions again as we keep going? It's a lot of information to take in, but just want to make sure that you all know what resources you have available to you.
I'll ask a question about your experience with the short course.
Mm-hmm.
So as you mentioned that you would be in a newsroom of Black journalists. So when you returned to your school, where you mentioned was a PWI, how did you think that experience affected the way you reported afterwards, or if there wasn't any change at all?
Yeah, I don't know if it affected the way I reported, but I definitely think that there were conversations, especially since that was happening in 2020. And, there was a lot of things happening in 2020 related to, racial relations and also just how we talk about race in the workplace. And I think that, especially in my experience, where there's only, 1 or 2 Black students in the classroom other than me most of the time, it's nice to feel like you have a community of people who might understand the experiences that you're having beyond those who you might interact with or meet at school. And there are people from all across the country again. And eventually when we do apply to professional positions, we think about moving to different places. It's nice to just kind of know what environment you're going into, know that you have allies in other places. And so I think that's kind of the best part about being a part of a program like that. And if you bring your work ethic and excitement about the work that you want to write about or produce, then you're going to get the most out of the experience, because it's really all about you being able to have the opportunity to experiment and then meeting a lot of great people along the way as well. But thank you for that question. That's a great one.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else before we move to our next slide? Okay. Next, we'll talk about scholarships, and it kind of is about to be, I think, NABJ scholarship application season. So now is always a great time to sign up for membership, kind of at the beginning of next year, kind of leading into January or kind of in December as well. I think some applications are due on December 31st, so it might be good to try to get in before the end of the year. But NABJ awards and scholarships are annually awarded to high school students and college students who are interested in pursuing careers in journalism. And over the last decade, NABJ has offered more than $100 million or $500,000 to students studying broadcast, print, photography, online journalism, graphic design, and communications. So you really can find your niche in a lot of these realms of scholarships that they offer. NABJ scholarships, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, are up to $10,000 each and can be really competitive, but it's great to put your name out there and to try multiple years in a row if you don't get it the first time, because people will get familiar with your name and with your work. And it's just a great opportunity to put your name out there and also get some support for school. I put some coins on the side of the screen because college students are always looking for a little bit of extra money to support you, whether you're thinking about graduate school or you're thinking about how you're going to move into your professional life and afford housing and things like that. So it's great to be able to have this support through NABJ, whether you're applying it to your school tuition now or you're thinking about the future. And applications are usually available every fall and spring, but I always say be on the lookout at all times. You never know when an opportunity will cross your screen. So I just think it's a great opportunity, and you should definitely try to get membership as soon as possible, because I know that there are some that pop up at the end of the year. All right, and then one of our last slides is internships. And again, this is one of my favorite things about NABJ is that there's a lot of really great internship opportunities that are kind of tied to or always promoted by NABJ. They offer summer internships annually to college students interested in pursuing careers in journalism, and students, again, will gain hands-on training in reporting, editing, photography, graphic design, video production, public relations at a lot of really great US news organizations. And past internships have been at NBC Universal, like I had my sophomore year, at ABC News, the NABJ National Office, ESPN, NFL, Ringer. There is a long, long list, and I will not do them all for you, but that's just a short few groups of organizations that are a part of the NABJ internship programs, and students can apply for those internships online in the fall and spring through NABJ's website. And so interns are selected and notified usually of their internship placements in the spring, but again, always be on the lookout for opportunities. There are sometimes things in the fall, sometimes short-term things in the summer, and it's always a great opportunity to get involved, to learn, and to put yourself out there. And now we'll move to questions. Oh, and thank you for dropping those links. That was super helpful.
I can't find one for the 2022 multimedia project for the convention. That may not be up yet.
Yeah, that is not out yet. I think it'll be out probably in January or so.
Can you speak to the short course, like what that's about? Because the multimedia project does occur during the conventions, and so I don't know what the number is because I'm sure it expands each year. But dozens of students get a chance to put out a newspaper, a daily TV broadcast, or actually several times a day, TV broadcast, radio broadcasts, and an online publication throughout the 5 days of the conference. But the students go there, and as you see, it's an all expenses paid opportunity where you'd come on I think students came as early as, the convention runs from Wednesday to Sunday normally, but students come there probably like on that Saturday or Sunday before and begin reporting on that city. And of course, the national board is there that early as well. So there's a lot of news that begins even as soon as you land. And then, it's not, for the sort of little of it, it is a sort of an intense week. And, by Thursday or Friday, the students have done like several stories. So it's a real intense week, but it's a fantastic opportunity to really upgrade your skills and to meet other journalists. Of course, you're here with thousands of journalists assembled, as well as recruiters. So it's a tremendous opportunity just to be on that. I once, several years, I have served as a coach, so to speak, for the Multimedia Project. And, I've been, it's been a great opportunity to meet students and also to see them grow in that workshop. So I'm sure it's competitive, and I'm not sure how many apply or how many are accepted, but I know it's several dozen with each convention, and it is all expenses paid for that, and hotel, air, all that stuff is included.
Yeah, and the short course is really similar. I would say, again, the multimedia projects are certainly more intense experience. You're producing news every single day. And for the short course, it is a little bit more, not entry level, but an intermediate kind of mix of experience. We produced one large newscast together as a group. We have a producer, an anchor, and I was the anchor for my class last year. There's about 15 students who participate in that, and they're split almost equally in half. We have some photographers and then some digital reporters, and then people who focus primarily on creating broadcast pieces for the week that we're working together. And granted, I did this virtually, and so I think in person the experience is a little bit more rigorous, and you might produce a little bit more because you're on a college campus and news is a little bit more accessible because we're all focusing on the same issue. Whereas when we did it this past year, we met, I think, a month before the conference and kind of brainstormed stories that we were interested in potentially covering, and then came back that week and were able to pursue them and put our content and pieces together, get them reviewed, go over them a few times. It's a really great learning experience because you're intensely focused on producing the one or two pieces that you'll make during that week, and then it all comes together as a big group project. And so that, again, is a wonderful experience. And when it is in person, you also do get a flight out to the university that it's usually hosted at, which is North Carolina A&T. And then I think that would be an awesome experience. I did it virtually again, and I had a really great time. I still talked to the people who I participated in that program with. And so I would recommend that to students for sure. Yeah, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or to say them out loud. I'm happy to answer anything that you have.
So for your internship, you said with NBC, how was that application process different through NABJ than a regular application?
Yeah, I would say through NABJ, it actually is a little bit easier. I believe the essay is a little bit shorter than usual. They also really intensely focus and care about bringing diverse applicants to the process. And so I think that you are more likely to potentially get eyes on your application if you apply through NABJ. In addition to that, it's a great opportunity to get your resume out there. Again, you're applying through a specific program. They always pick students from NABJ to do this internship. And so I would say it's just like a higher chance that you get an opportunity to participate. And I've gone through the NBC application process before. It's relatively similar, but I would say that NABJ probably gives you a little bit of a leg up.
Have you been to one of the conventions that in person?
I haven't. I'm looking forward to going this year.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's something that really is it's worth the $40 alone. It's a really extravagant kind of event. You know, again, I said it goes across 5 days, and so much of it is oriented toward people who are just entering the field. There's a tremendous amount of workshops and discussions and panel discussions about what you can do to get your first job, how to make your reel look its best, how to spruce up your resume. A whole lot of things are oriented toward entering the field and your first 5 years or so. So I highly recommend that for to get your foot in the door, so to speak. And then just the networking opportunities are kind of unmatched anywhere in the country. So making it to the convention is really an investment in your career, and the first step to doing that is, of course, becoming a member, seeing what there is to offer, trying to make it to the convention itself, and then the networking once you get there.
Absolutely. And I would also add, like, NABJ is something that you can add to your LinkedIn. It's just a great way to connect with people. When people see that you're in NABJ, they might be, of hiring you for a job. It's just a good opportunity to have an additional connection with people in the industry. And so I always would recommend it to students who are interested or who are thinking about it.
And I'll just add too that as students here know, I am the director of internships and careers, and I know that all the big media companies have relationships with NABJ and the other affinity organizations. So they are at the conventions, they are looking to hire looking to get to develop relationships with the students and follow them as they begin their careers. And I just think with all these organizations, it's just so important what you're both saying, the emphasis on helping people get started. I mean, where else are you going to get that? It's really, once you graduate, we do what we can, but you're off on your own. And here's like
Sure.
a handoff. It's great.
Yeah, take advantage of it now. There's a tremendous amount that's oriented toward the entry level.
I did have a question, which Professor Selvin, you kind of mentioned it, just how how the organization would help once we transition into the work field. I know you're a student now, so you can't really say, but maybe people that you've encountered or friends that you've made away that have now graduated and now they're in their career, and how the organization has benefited them.
Yeah, I would definitely say that it's a lifetime thing for a lot of people. And NABJ is something that they were able to join in college and still are in, 10 years later. They have a lot of opportunities for early career journalists. And we have a job board on NABJ that kind of functions to me like LinkedIn. You can look for job opportunities that are specific to your type of roles that you're looking for in the industry. And again, it's just always having those connections. There are news directors for people who are interested in broadcast who are participants and members of NABJ. There are always editors and newspapers who are looking for writers. So I think that it's always deeply valuable because the organization doesn't just cater to students. And that's why I think it's really beneficial for students to be a part of it, is because you can make those connections that you might need further down the line when we're still in school, and then utilize those as we continue to progress in our career. But yeah, definitely would stay involved even after graduation.
Thank you. I guess one more question, just personally, what do you think you've benefited the most from NABJ?
Yeah, I think that for me, the list is very long. I think even just being able to be in my position as NABJ student rep is a really great opportunity for me to lead and to interact with students like all of you and be able to have these conversations where we're sharing information about how we can all grow as journalists and progress and be effective in this field. But for me, I've again done the NBC fellowship through NABJ, so that was a wonderful experience. I've done the short course through NABJ. I've attended virtual NABJ conferences and have learned so much, interacted with some really incredible journalists who I eventually ended up being on the board with, for example, or who I've met through other professional experiences that I've had. I've gotten scholarships from NABJ as well before I was a board member. And so I think it's a long list. And I think that the key to making the most out of it is applying to everything and trying to be as involved as you can, because you certainly can pay the $40 and not get anything out of it if you don't click on the links or be paying attention to the emails or the tweets or, looking for those opportunities to grow and benefit yourself. But I think that all of the things are there for you to grab and to look at. So that's the best part about NABJ, is that the resources are relatively pretty boundless, and we try our best to get them out to as many people as possible. And so I think that you can make the most of it with what you have.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There are also, there's also the affiliate chapters. So like, again, I was president of the Boston one, vice president of the New York one. That's a way of sort of connecting with the national through your local activism locally. So, there's the New York chapter here that has students involved as well. That's always another avenue. And then so it's almost like being able to have the benefits of the convention and the national perspective right locally where you are, and also year round, because these organizations meet and have programs and offer things like scholarships as well, just like the national convention does. So always keep that in mind too. I don't know how the membership works with both, because some when I know as a professional chapter, I know that you could be a member of a local one and a professional one as well, and it was 2 different prices. I'm not certain if students get a discount for both, or if it's a combination. Maybe to me, you can speak to that. I don't remember how the pricing membership structure works with the local versus the national, if you can be in both at the same time, if there's a discount.
Yeah, I'm not positive. I think it is separate. But for students, in most cases, their student chapters, they just pay the NABJ membership. And if there's a chapter on their campus, then they're able to join.
Right.
And if there's not a chapter on your campus, then you always can start one as well. So I think it's a little bit different for students. I'm not as knowledgeable about after graduation.
Are there any more questions from anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Tamia and Professor Dowdy, for joining us. I learned a lot, even though I was already a member, but I did learn a lot. I hope everyone else got something out of it too. So again, we have Tamia Folks, Professor Dowdy from NABJ, and the Building a Better School of Communications and Journalism workshop. Thanks you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Feel
putting
free
us
to
on.
connect with me on social media and on LinkedIn and on all the things. I'd love to help. So
Gotcha.
be in touch.
Thanks, Tamia.
Really
Thanks a
nice
lot.
to meet you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.